Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an order for us that unfortunately the majority of the Muslim don't know how to do it or when to do it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى حتى تعلموا ما تقولون ولا جنبا عابري سبيل حتى تغتسلوا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم إن الله كان عفوا غفورا. O you who believe, do not approach prayer while you are intoxicated until you know what you are saying or in a state of janaba, and janaba means impure, except those passing through a mosque, until you have washed your whole body. And if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the place of relieving themselves, or had an intimate relationship with his or her spouse, and find no water, then seek clean earth and wipe over your faces and your hands with it. Indeed, Allah is ever pardoning and forgiving. We're going to talk today about Tayammum. And we have to understand in Islam, anything that's required to fulfill an obligation is an obligation. So in other words, Salah is an obligation. But to do Salah, you have to do wudu. So wudu is an obligation because it's required to fulfill that obligation. Tayammum substitute and replace wudu, ablution, and ghusl, which is shower after an intimate relationship with your spouse. And the Prophet ﷺ saw a person when he was praying, he saw a person sitting far and did not join the congregation in praying behind the Prophet ﷺ. So after the prayer he asked him, "Oh so and so, what prevented you from offering the prayer with the people?" He said, "Oh Allah's Messenger, I am junub, I am impure." He had an intimate relationship with his wife and he didn't take a shower. And there is no water. The Prophet said, "Perform tayammum with clean earth and that will be sufficient for you." So somebody may think, what we need to know about tayammum. We live in America. At home I turn on the faucet, there is water. At work I turn on the faucet, there is water. In the masjid you turn on the faucet, there is water. Everywhere you turn on the faucet, there is water. So why do we need that? A tayammum is permitted only in certain situations, and I'm going to give a few examples, not all of it. Number one, when there is no water. Can it happen? Of course it can. Sometime the water company has to replace a line that shut off the water for the whole street or the whole neighborhood. And if any of you ever had a plumber come to do work at home, the first thing they do is shut off the water. There is no water, so they can fix the faucet or the toilet or whatever it is. So it can be that you don't have water in the house and you have to do prayer. So what are you going to do? You do tayammum. Number two, when sufficient amounts of water for wudu or ghusl are not available, including when if you use that water that's available, there wouldn't be enough water for drinking or cooking. You can be in the desert or on a camping trip and you have limited water, and if you do wudu with it, there will not be enough water for people to drink. So it's a problem. So then you can do tayammum. When obtaining water is dangerous or too expensive, sometimes the water is outside and maybe there is a dog and you don't want to go outside, so you can do tayammum. Number four, when using water poses a health risk. Can be in America. Some people may think this is a third world country. No, in America it can happen. Some of you may remember what happened in Flint, Michigan. In Michigan, the water, you turn on the faucet, the water comes out green, not pure water, green. And the state gave an order, nobody drinks the water. It's very hazardous to your health. And it happened even here in California. A couple of years back in San Joaquin Valley. This is a farm area. And the farmers used a lot of pesticide and seeped through the ground to the underground water and contaminated the water. And the state gave an order, nobody drinks that water until they purify it. And then they kept treating it until it became healthy and to drink. So in some cases you cannot drink the water because of health reasons. Number 5, when the water available is impure, like let's say you have a tank and it has a dead animal in it, you cannot use that water. And number 6, when you're sick or wounded. When a person is injured or ill and believes that the use of water may make his condition worse, then he should not do that. He should do tayammum. As an example, people who are burn victims. If you have burn on your hand or on your body and you use water, it's going to get worse. It's going to cause an infection. It's going to be a problem. So tayammum is allowed in that situation. One of the companions was saying, we set out on a journey. One of our people was hurt by a stone. A stone fell down and hit his head and had a gash in his head. So the person had a wet dream at night. When he woke up in the morning, he asked his companion, do you see any permission for me to do tayammum? They said, no, we have water. You cannot do tayammum. You have to use the water. So he took a shower and he died. When they went back, the Prophet ﷺ asked about the companion, where is he? They said, this is what happened. We told him this, and he took a shower and he died. So the Prophet ﷺ became very angry. And he said, you killed him. Why don't you ask if you don't know? The cure for ignorance is inquiry. It was enough for him to perform tayammum. So we understand, first of all, that he told us a rule. If you don't understand, if you don't know something, ask. A lot of us, whether by ego or we don't show that we don't know something, we don't like to ask. But this is the Prophet ﷺ telling us, if you don't know something, ask. Nothing wrong with that. Ask. It's better than do something wrong or hurt somebody. And another example is me when I was in the hospital. I was in bed and I couldn't get up to do wudu. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not permit tayammum, I could have not prayed at all. So it's a mercy of Allah that we do tayammum. You can pray and still you're in bed. Number 7, tayammum is allowed when water is available, but it's too cold and cannot be heated, or there is no bathroom with privacy. You need to take a shower, but there is no privacy in the bathroom. So you can do tayammum. Amr ibn al-As, one of the great companion, he was the head of an army that the Prophet ﷺ sent out. And then he had a wet dream. Then when he woke up in the morning, he did tayammum. And he led the army in prayer and all of that. And then when he went back, he went to the Prophet ﷺ to ask him what he did is right or wrong. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "O Amr, did you pray with your companion while you needed a shower?" So Amr ibn al-As answered him and said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِكُمْ رَحِيمًا. Do not kill yourselves, indeed Allah is most merciful to you. The Prophet ﷺ smiled and said nothing. In Islam, Sunnah is established 3 ways. The first way is something that the Prophet ﷺ did. That's a Sunnah. If he did this or did that, whatever he did is a Sunnah. The second way is whatever he said. If he said do this or don't do that, that's a Sunnah. The third way is that he observed something or heard something and he did not object to it, then it's a Sunnah. That means he's in agreement with it. And that's what happened with Amr ibn al-As. He didn't say anything. So it is a Sunnah. So how can we do tayammum? How can we do it? The first thing is finding a piece of ground which is free of najasa, free of filth, unclean element, a clean piece of earth. And tayammum is valid if done using anything that comes from the surface of the earth. Anything that comes from the surface of the earth is fine. So you can use it if you have sand, if you have clay, any of those things is fine. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, perform tayammum with clean earth. So anything from the surface of the earth is fine. You can do that. And tayammum is not permitted on all items which burn to ashes or dissolve or rot or melt or food items. So you cannot do tayammum with a loaf of bread. You cannot do that. Or glass or metal, because glass and metal are not from the face of the earth. Or wood or ash or sugar or ice, because sugar and ice, they melt. You're not supposed to do tayammum with things that melt, that dissolve. However, having said all of that, there is a rule in Islam that says necessity dictates exceptions. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, فَمَنْ اضْطُرَّ غَيْرَ بَاغٍ وَلَا عَادٍ فَلَا إِثْمَ عَلَيْهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. But if one is forced by necessity, nor desiring, nor exceeding, but if one is forced by necessity, not desiring, nor exceeding the limit, no sin shall be upon him. Surely Allah is forgiving, merciful. So sometimes you don't have an option. Like in my case, when I was in the hospital, the only way I can do tayammum is using a pillow. Because if I can get up and go outside and use earth, clean earth, then I can do wudu, but I cannot. So using a pillow is an exception. But the rule is you try to use whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed us to do. Then the second thing you do, after you do that, you have to make niyyah, intention, that you're going to do tayammum. Some people think that niyyah, you have to say it loud. No, it's mentally. I've seen some people when they do wudu, they say whole speech. نَوَيْتُ أَنْ أَتَوَضَّأَ for Salat al-Dhuhr, a long speech. No. In Islam, the niyyah is in the heart. It's not something you have to say loud, no. So you make the intention that you're going to do tayammum. Then you say Bismillah. And then you have to follow the order in the Quran. You start with the face and then the hands. When I was researching how to do tayammum and all of that, I found there is two ways. So I'm going to tell you both ways because I don't want anybody later on to tell you, no, there is another way and get you confused. And I'm going to tell you which one is the right one and why. The first one says, you take your both hands and you strike the surface of the ground, whatever you're going to use, whether you're going to use a rock, you're going to use ground, you're going to use sand, you hit that thing with both hands. And then you blow in them, so if there is any dirt that comes out of it, you blow in them, and then you rub your face, and then after that, both hands from the fingertips all the way to the wrist, only to the wrist. The second method is the same, except when you do the hands, they want you to do it all the way to the elbows, not only the hand. And the right one is the first one, only to the wrist. Why is that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran when He was telling us to do wudu, when He's ordering us to do wudu, He said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ فَأَغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ وَأَيْدِيكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ. O you who believe, when you rise to perform prayer, wash your faces and your hands to the elbows. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He wanted us to do it to the elbow, He was specific. He said to the elbows. In tayammum He said hands. If He wanted us to do it to the elbows, He would have said to the elbows. So the first one is the right one, only to the wrist. And as I mentioned to you, tayammum is a replacement for both. If you need to do wudu or you need to take a shower, both of them, tayammum is enough. Just doing the face and the hands will do it. You don't need anything more than that. And it's done only one time. You do the earth and then your face and your hands one time. It's not like wudu, you do 3 times. No, one time, that's it. And then the conditions that ruin your tayammum, invalidate your tayammum, are the same condition that invalidate your wudu. Same one. So like if you release some gas, or you go to the bathroom, or you had an intimate relationship with your spouse, all of those ruin your tayammum. In addition, there is only one additional rule more than the wudu that invalidate your tayammum, ruin your tayammum. And that rule is, if water becomes available. If water becomes available, your tayammum is over. You did tayammum and you're going to pray Salat al-Dhuhr, and then all of a sudden the plumber tells you, the water is back. You cannot say, I'm going to pray. No. Your tayammum is gone. You have to go and do wudu. So that's the additional thing that compared to wudu. And from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, each tayammum is good for one prayer. Not like wudu. Wudu, when you do wudu for dhuhr and asr comes, you can do salah with the same wudu. In tayammum, you have to do wudu for dhuhr, and when asr comes, you do another tayammum and pray asr. What are some of the lessons that we learn from the tayammum? The first lesson is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is merciful and trying always to make things easy for us, always. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ أَن يُخَفِّفَ عَنْكُمْ. Allah wants to lighten for you your difficulties, make them easy. And He said in the Quran as well, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرِ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرِ. Allah intends for you ease, and He does not want to make things difficult for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever He gives us an order, an obligation, at the same time, He makes it easy for us. At the same time, He tells us how to make it easy for ourselves. Number two, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَقِمِ الصَّلَاةِ, and establish prayer. According to the Tayammum, Allah is telling us there is nothing that should prevent us from doing prayer. Nothing. You don't have any excuse. As a matter of fact, when we travel, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy for us. You can shorten the prayer and combine prayers. And even during the time of war, there is something called the prayer of fear. Even in the middle of the war, you have to pray. You cannot say, I'm in the war, forget about the prayer. No, you have to pray. So you have no excuse. And with the Tayammum, it's telling us, even when you don't have water, you still should pray. Do Tayammum and pray. So nothing should stop us from doing prayer. The other thing is that we as Muslims in general, we try to explain and justify all acts of worship. We try to find a reason why we're doing that. So when somebody tells you fasting, most of the people say we fast so we can feel the pain and the suffering of the poor. And when somebody says pay zakat, so we can learn generosity and have empathy to the poor, feel for their pain. And when you do Hajj, to sacrifice and learn equality, because we're all wearing the same thing and we're standing next to each other. But when you read the verse of Tayammum, it makes you think again, is that really the reason? And in my opinion, the reason all the acts of worship have one goal, is that we submit to Allah. We obey Allah's order, period. No other reason. Because if you think about it, when we do wudu, we clean ourselves. But when we do tayammum, we take dirt and we put it on our face and our hands. It's the opposite. All it is Allah wants us to obey. That's it. It's not a matter of logic. Do I understand this or I don't understand that? No. It's a matter of obeying what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us. That's why there is a lot of verses in the Quran that says, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهِ, and obey Allah. And Sayyidina Ibrahim, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about Sayyidina Ibrahim, is saying, إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. When his Lord told him, said to him, submit, I be a Muslim. And he said, I have submitted myself as a Muslim to the Lord of the worlds. And we as Muslim were called Muslim. What is Muslim? Muslim is the one who submits to Allah, obeys Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, I created you, and I know what is good for you and what is bad for you. So submit to me and obey me, and I guarantee you a successful and happy life in this world and in the hereafter. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us. Nothing more, nothing less. Just obey Him and follow His order, and you're guaranteed happiness and success.